this gentleman in the back.
Is this on?
Yeah.
My question is, how responsive have Saleh and his family members and the security services been to U.S. concerns about human rights stemming from reports that Yemeni security forces have used live ammunition against protesters, particularly in Abu?
Can you stand and just say
Sure.
your question, because it's hard to get back to you?
Hi, sure. Thank you. John Delvin from Georgetown University. I was hoping that you could address a little bit of the current humanitarian situation and the potential implications of this in terms of the creation of IDPs or refugees and any anticipatory action that's taking place.
Let me start with the first question. We've had a rather robust dialogue with the Yemenis, particularly as the violence has increased during the demonstrations, both publicly and privately. That is ongoing. We have expressed our concerns at a number of different levels. We don't think that it serves either the Yemenis or the government or the police and the security services to commit violence against the demonstrators. But I have to tell you that there does seem to be some instances of violence that the Yemenis have not been able to well explain either to their people or to interested observers like the United States and other countries. So we have to do that. The humanitarian situation, maybe someone else can.
Well, I would just, I found the question a little bit curious because the big humanitarian crisis was in the war in the north, which has stabilized, and a lot of those IDPs have actually started to head back up north where things are more stable now. I'm not sure that we were going to see a big IDP. We're not going to see I don't think we're going to see that kind of a conflict. This is a political conflict where you may see some conflicts between protesters and whatnot, but I don't see a refugee crisis being created.
Next question, we've got an individual here.
Thank you. My name is Kamal Mahdi. One of Saleh's speeches, he said, this is a flu coming from the Middle East. In another speech, he accused Israel and United States and foreigners. He said, this is, have been many people room in Israel. Is this something coming from the people or something you really think?
I would say that this is Ali al-Assad trying to stand in the middle, saying that these are extremists, these are people influenced from the outside, these are not sort of your man on the street Yemeni that are doing this. This is the kind of approach that he's always going to take. He's always going to say that I'm the moderate, I'm the one. He sets the Islah against the Ishtiraki in the war in '94. And says, well, Mu'tamar, we're the middle, we're the moderate ones, and he's always going to try and position himself that way. There is, of course, an element inside of Yemen stemming from certain currents within Arab nationalism. They like to see this thing as sort of a chaos, spurred on by the United States and Israel trying to impose their program and whatnot. But that doesn't have, you hear it sometimes, but it's not got a lot of currency inside of Yemen.
Good. Questions back here? Anybody else want to hear a question?
Thank you. Andrew North, BBC. Question for Charles Schmitz. Can you give me your view of US government policy, the Obama administration policy on Yemen in relation to the other uprisings? Because it has seemed very uncertain. I mean, with Egypt, it was a sense of backing Mubarak until it was too late. With Gaddafi, it was eventually you've got to go. With Tunisia, well, we didn't really get a clear line. But with Yemen, the sense you get is that the US government would prefer Saleh to remain in power for reasons of counter-terrorism, cooperation, this kind of thing. But what's your sense of the kind of the message that is coming across, and is the US risking by now appearing to kind of take a more hands-off approach, actually losing influence there, if eventually Saleh is forced to go?
No, I would say that the ambassador offered his offices numerous times for negotiated settlements, and this is something that the opposition wants. I mean, I think I would like to see the opposition step up and take advantage of that. I think that would be a good move on the opposition's part to actually take the U.S. up on that offer, and I think it's a wise move because we don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And to be in the position of mediating, that's what you want to be. The one who rules Yemen is the top mediator. The United States doesn't want to rule Yemen, and the United States doesn't want to appear to be imposing anything. But we can be the good officers, and we can, with our political capital, kind of twist some arms to say this is a good place to be. We have, I think that the place that Ali al-Assad really panicked was when Obama abandoned Mubarak. And all of a sudden, you saw his discourse change really fast. So we do have this political capital, which I would think that we need to play a more of a leadership role and a negotiated one. And I think so far, in that sense, it's quite wise. The Yemenis are quite afraid of U.S. counterterrorism action. That's what they're really afraid of. They're afraid that the United States is going to overplay the counterterrorism and take unwise actions. And there's been 2 cruise missiles that were shot in that didn't really hit their targets and caused collateral damage. And they're very worried about that. But the United States is sort of a political leader. We have, and this ambassador, as we know, he's quite active. He's gone places that the other ambassadors have not gone. And I think that's very good. I think that's what we need. I think actually they're doing a pretty good job.
Chris, do you think we've gotten the right tone on Yemen? Should we be pushing harder?
I mean, I don't think I disagree with anything that Charles said. I think one thing looking forward is I think we need to have a policy that, Yemen's future lies in large part with the Gulf. And Saudi Arabia needs to be front and center in this relationship. And I think the Americans and the Saudis want the same thing in Yemen, kind of a stable Yemen that is not a threat to its neighbors and that is, territorially together. But I think, we have, I think this was said earlier, we have a limited voice in what happens. The amount of money we give, the relationship we have, and everything else. Saudi Arabia has a much deeper, longer, more expensive relationship. And Saudi Arabians will have a policy with Yemen no matter what. And we need to make sure that we're all together on the same page, because otherwise we run the risk of things going off and it will be too late to figure it out. So I think we need to make sure that the Saudis and the Gulf states, but the Saudis especially, are front and center on this.
Well, I would add one point to that is that the way Saudis see their security in Yemen and the way the Yemenis see it and the way we see it is quite different. And that's where we can twist some arms.
But how should the Saudis be front and center for this?
I think it's in a perfect world, I think it would be not just about giving out money, right? I think it would not just be about delivering suitcases of cash. I think, the Saudis, I think, have an important role to play in helping the other Gulf states come to a different approach on Yemen, about letting in more Yemeni laborers, about increasing Yemeni exports into the Gulf, about not just manual laborers, but I think kind of semi-skilled and professional laborers. I think and greater investment. I think there needs to be a closer relationship. And one way or another, Yemen's going to have a relationship with the GCC, and they need to figure out what that's going to be. But this can't be all about security. And I think security is the reason why there is that concern, but it needs to move beyond security. And I think that a lot of the other Gulf states can do things to help build the capacity and institutions that we need to see in Yemen.